Good evening, and thank you for taking out the time to join the webinar. One topic which has been troubling everybody as it started off, Corona and children, it was like, oh, nice vacation time, extended holidays. But now, 5 months down, I think for parents, teachers, caregivers, grandparents, for everybody, this has become a challenge. Corona at one end and children at the other, so maintaining that balance is definitely a tough task as of now for parents. And since I run a daycare, we have kids as small as 6 months, and we would see parents drop them in the morning, come pick them up in the evening. They would be laughing, playing, and parents always thought, oh, it is so easy to raise a little one. And now suddenly they're spending 24 hours with them, 24 into 7 into 5, like I was saying, 5 months down. And parents think it's a challenge, and they suddenly are appreciative of all the teachers and the caregivers and everybody else who was handling their children. So, that was the seed of thought for this webinar, and I managed to get this lovely panel. Thankfully, they had the time to spare. So I'll start introducing each one of them. Shanti ma'am. So I'll start with Shanti ma'am. So Shanti ma'am has been the principal founder of the Dean's Academy. She's had a very prestigious round of work with a lot of good schools, and along with being an forefront educationist, she also has the hobby. We all know she's a very good dancer and a painter. She has interest in Carnatic music, and I guess this is what she wants to instill in all the children, and that's what we've seen in the Dean's Academy. So thank you so much, Shanti ma'am, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Okay. The next on the panel is Dr. Sumita. So Dr. Sumita is a pediatrician. She has worked in Mumbai. She did her pediatrics from Sion Hospital, and she runs a clinic at Marathali, which is called the Children's Clinic. So a pediatrician handling babies to tiny tots to teenagers. Thank you, doctor, because you are the most wanted person in the panel right now. We're waiting for the vaccine. We're waiting to hear what to do with immunity. And so we really need your insight in this panel today. Thank you for joining us. Okay, then we have Ms. Sama Adil. She has done her psychology and MA. And she currently works with Dean's Academy, and she's the student counselor. So student counseling, that's a challenging job because we think little ones don't understand, and you tell them and they'll just follow. But I totally understand that it is a very challenging field to understand the psychology of tiny tots, teenagers. So thank you so much, Sama ma'am, to join us today, because we need your insight on how our children are dealing, silently in this phase where we adults are talking, discussing, and these have been deprived of their friends, their playgrounds, their school, So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Our last person on the panel, but not the least, is Neha. So Neha is a yoga instructor, and suddenly, like we were discussing, everybody is into wellness. Everybody wants to boost their immunity. We definitely need a lot of tips from you, Neha. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me. Thank you so much.
So we'll start with the first round of questions. I have one question for all of you, and we need the insight from each of your workspace, from the area of your expertise. So what do you think is the impact of this pandemic on our children? Okay, we'll start with Sumita ma'am. Please do tell us, doctor, what is the impact? How are children affected? What is the health situation of children?
See, The children are one of the most affected in this pandemic. We don't really realize it when we are all watching our news and we are all discussing on WhatsApp groups about the number of cases, about the number of deaths, and the number of this thing, who has been quarantined, who has not been quarantined. We are all discussing it within ourselves, but the children are sort of left behind. Nobody really bothers about what the children are feeling among themselves and their fears, their insecurities, and their this thing is completely neglected. That I think in ways that we don't understand, this corona has really impacted them in a very negative way. But the socio-economic impact is one of the most underrated thing. We don't realize there is loss of livelihood for many parents. Many parents have had pay cuts, many parents have lost their jobs, and children thereby they get affected. The overall economic situation at home is affected, thereby their nutrition gets affected, their vaccinations get delayed, and because of the quarantine and because of the lockdown and all, their vaccines have got delayed. These are all the health impacts that you could think of. They get nutritional deficiencies, they're not going out to play in the sunlight, they get vitamin deficiencies, especially vitamin D. They are vulnerable to life-threatening diseases because they have not received their vaccinations on time. These are the health adverse effects and the socio-economic adverse effect. More importantly is the psychological effects that these children go through. They have nobody to discuss it. They have nobody to, this thing, because their peer group interaction has been sort of cut off because there is lack of school. Their interaction with their teachers, their interaction with their peers is at a complete standstill. They get cooped up they are not used to be sitting in one place for 24 hours like this. And they want the freedom to run amok, they want the freedom to do this thing. Right now they are under the constant supervision of their parents and grandparents and everybody. So this sort of makes them cooped up, and they become anxious, they become irritable, they become cranky, and then they get scolded by the parents, and it adversely affects their mental makeup also, plus the constant interaction with the gadgets and constant influence of gadgets, prolongation of screen time. All that leads to a very profound impact on their mental makeup also. Their development gets hampered, their social interaction gets hampered, their peer group interaction, their anger management, they get anger management issues. All these will probably play out in the coming months together. These effects are going to be more and more evident to us. Right now whatever we are seeing is this, but later on, probably in the next 6 months or so, we will be seeing multiple issues with behavioral aspects of children and all that. We are going to probably face those issues in the coming months.
Okay.
That is something that needs to be yet seen and is not yet, we can probably anticipate it, but it remains to be seen. My estimate is these are the three spheres where it impacts them.
Okay. That was something that we not really thought about.
Yeah.
We were looking only about a vaccination not getting infected, but there, like you say, there is a multifold.
It affects them in ways that we probably won't even anticipate and won't even this thing, and it remains to be seen how they cope up with these situations in the coming months. We will be able to visualize it.
True. Okay. So next we'll move to Shanti ma'am. Shanti ma'am, what do you think is the impact?
Well, like Dr. Smita said, the largest impact is their inability to have peer association. Children are not able to get that, the socio-emotional, growth which they get with their peers. That is a critical aspect of schooling. And since the school gives them that social milieu, and then they don't really need it after that because they spend so much time with their friends. The kind of growth that children have when they interact with each other is immense. So typically when we have these little children coming to school and when they come in for their admissions, we find they don't speak, right? But within about 3-4 months, they're speaking long string of words, maybe not grammatical, but the impact was from the school. They hear it from each other, they watch each other. It's not just about the teacher. It's more about learning from each other. And I think peer learning is the most valuable thing that a student needs, which is largely lacking. And very incidentally, I was speaking to a bunch of my students yesterday, and I just asked them, so are you enjoying yourselves? And in chorus, a lot of them said, we can't play. How can we be enjoying ourselves?
True.
The children, like Dr. Sumita said again, I think there'd be a lot of repetition of what I'd be saying, but they need to stretch their limbs and play. There's so much they, gain as human beings when they do that simple playing outside, adjustment of space, adjusting with each other within a team, uh, a bit of cribbing, a bit of fighting it out, learning how to adjust and stand for yourself. All of these little skills which they're doing there, completely erased now. Children are spending so much time with adults, and that's possibly not the best company for them. I'm sorry, I'm a parent too, but I don't know if that's the best thing for any child. Again, this is out of an anecdote. One of the days that I was walking, I do a lot of long walks in the evening. So while I'm walking, I see bunches. I live in a gated colony, and it's a safe colony. So children are outside playing. They have spaces where they're allowed to play with a certain amount of protocol of safety and things like that. So I overheard a bunch of teenagers talking about how they are getting frustrated staying at home. And one of the statements I heard, and that was a little, as a parent myself, a little upsetting, but I think that's the truth of the matter. There's this one girl who said, I'm fine at being in the house by myself, but this overdose of my parents in the house is getting me very uncomfortable. And I think that's getting to be, children need their space, and we don't really don't think that's true. Their space is when they're in school. They're very different when they're in school. Parents might believe them to be, I brought them up with these kind of values and all of that, but when they're in school, they're their normal selves. They're with friends, they're up to mischief. That's a normal child. And I think the kind of constraint when 24/7 they're being, watched over by a parent. And constantly the interactions only with the parent. All their discussions are with parents. And the discussions are intellectual. Parents are trying to simulate games for them. I see parents trying to play cricket with their child. But the kind of dynamics that is there at that point is not the same when children play with each other. I think these are the two largely critical issues that children are facing today. The fact that A, they are not able to play freely, and two is that they're not getting interaction with their friends and peer group. I'm also so scared, and I was discussing this with some of my colleagues a couple of days back. The smallest ones of the little ones in our school, who've never seen a school, will wonder where they're being sent if after about a year they're coming back to school, because I don't foresee kindergarten being able to come back. They will wonder where they're being sent and why is my classroom being filled with other children, So imagine the kind of impacts that we're going to be having to deal with. While, like Dr. Sunita said, it is at the beginning of it all. It is just going to get, and the party is over now for everybody. Everybody has realized this is how life is going to be. And it is getting, I think, at a certain amount of saturation point for all of them. Children are feeling terribly constrained. They don't mind even coming to school now, Fortunately for me, I don't have children in my school who say I don't like coming to school. But today, I think children across the globe would want to go to school just so that they get that kind of break away from this thing of being shackled into a house, into four walls with just adults keeping them company. Children today don't, I don't know if I'm overstepping my time, but they haven't got that kind of, playing with siblings kind of, it doesn't happen anymore. Today's breed of children play with children of their own age group. They don't play with siblings. So that is again an awkward situation for them. They don't know how to play with their sibling anymore. So within a house, in the home front, they have no friends. They have no one to talk to. They have no one to play with. They have no one to discuss with. They have no one to express what they're feeling. They don't believe their parents can understand. And of course we can't, because we are many generations apart. We're not just one generation. Today generations are measured by, I think, every 2 years. So they're really finding, I don't think children, like Dr. Sumita said, they're probably the most impacted lot. And none of us have faced up to that.
Okay, thank you so much, Shanti ma'am, for all that insight. And I guess, yes, now if we ask the children if they want to go to school, I think they will say yes, they want to go to school. Thank you so much. We move on to Sama. Sama ma'am, what do you think has been the impact on the children?
So I think Dr. Sunita and Shanti ma'am have really covered, all the, the big points, the big aspects of what the children are actually experiencing. And I think that's absolutely a bang on with those things. From the children, I want to share with you directly from what I've heard from kids and my interaction with the students. So I remember, and it was so overwhelming for me, the first classroom session that we had. It was a half-an-hour session, and I was just having like a free-flowing discussion. I didn't really have an agenda to discuss with the kids, and the kids were just so relieved, like, ma'am, somebody wants to hear from us, like, you want to hear our opinion, ma'am, really? So for me, and there was just like, ma'am, please, can we do this regularly? So it was like it was a relief for me to say to see them, like they were craving that kind of like, hear me, like they were shouting out to be heard. So for me, that was really overwhelming. And I think that's one of the biggest things that came out. And the kids, we have to understand, like, even in the counseling, in the psychology, in the space from there, school has been a constant in their life. Like, like, you have their parents, they, their primary caregivers. School is one of the constants in their life, and when school was taken away from them, yes, I agree, there was all this, there was, a lot of them who took it like, okay, just early holidays and stuff like that. But when school reopened and that wasn't happening, a lot of issues have come up for children. Like, I think the occurrence of anxiety, occurrence of depression, occurrence of OCD type of behaviors, compulsions and obsession, these have really increased. These are the kind of issues that are coming up more and more with kids. And this is what even in research and studies have shown, that this is what is the case with when you change something, in front of kids. You change something so essentially, like schools as a point of contact. We've removed that away, we've taken that away from their lives, and you've kept them locked up. They are definitely going to feel that deficiency. And that might be a negative, but the positive side of that, which the more I'm talking with children, the more that's coming out, and which is really heartwarming also, is that these children, I would never have said this about them earlier. I felt that this generation is quite self-centered, quite selfish. But now I see there's a kind of gratitude that's coming out in these children, where they are learning to appreciate the value of teachers, the value of school, the value of friendship, the value of their own parents. And when I see that kind of trend coming out, that is something that is like, I'm glad that they have this time to introspect. So, I mean, I guess everything is not all bad with COVID. And I guess that's what life is all about. And I guess that's what the interaction with kids has been primarily for me. It's that, can we focus on the positives that you can take from this situation? And, and I think a lot of kids are doing that. And, so along, and I guess that's the whole thing. I hope like these online counseling is offered by, I hope parents even would encourage, the parents who are listening over here, encourage your children, if they feel that they want to talk to somebody outside, like, don't be offended when your kids say that they want to talk to someone, because a lot of kids are talking to me and they say, please don't tell my parents.
Oh.
So, I mean, as parents, the parents who are listening over here, I would really encourage you, don't take it personally. If a child wants to reach out to a teacher or a counselor, or whoever it is, don't take it personally. It's just like, they need an unbiased person. They want somebody on the outside. So I think those are things that came, I feel are, big impacts. I also feel that some of the things like aggression, some bad sleep habits, bad nutrition, these are also issues that children themselves have mentioned, that there's a change in their sleep pattern, there's a change in their behavior, their anxiety, which is leading to increased aggression, increased temper tantrums, and they're recognizing it. I primarily deal with older kids.
Okay.
So they're recognizing it and they are like reaching out and saying, how can I handle that better?
Okay.
And I
So
think the
any age
value
group?
of time seems to have gone down a little bit because of not being on a tight schedule. They feel that, time seems to just get away from us. So for me, these are the big impacts from my interaction with kids that have come up.
Okay. I just want to ask you, Sama ma'am, any age group that you're talking about who feel the anxiety, the tantrum, the anger management issues?
So I mean, where Deans is concerned, specifically for Deans, the issue from, you can say, 9th grade to 12th grade.
Okay. Okay.
That's the age group. But
okay.
outside students, you can, I mean, I think the parents agree that there have been behavioral changes in all age groups of children,
Okay.
keeping them confined. I can, as a parent, I can say that myself because I see that in my 4-year-old child.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's across the board. We are
It's
seeing changes
across.
in
Yeah.
behavior.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much, Sama ma'am. That was very insightful. Okay, we move on to Neha. Neha, the yoga guru, please tell us. I can see somebody jumping behind you, so I can see how
Yeah,
kids
yeah,
are.
actually.
Yeah.
My kid he was a 7-year-old kid.
Okay.
He studies in Teens Academy only. So, yeah.
Okay.
So actually, all of you, which the points you said that the kids are really missing their schools. I also feel my kid is really missing his school and his friends. And actually, what I believe that children's in during this pandemic situation are really, prone to perceive anxiety, which, as said by Sama ma'am, they perceive anxiety, which can cause them to feel stressed out. And depending on their age, their response may vary. Like some may become angry, agitated, anxious, and some may also start wetting their beds. So actually, these are the problems we have to actually tackle. The parents only can, um sort out these problems because they have that special bond with the children's actually, you know. And as said by Shanti ma'am and Sumita ma'am, that physical activities have very less right now, and due to the more prone to gadgets, and like children are always watching TV, mobile, and also they have to give more time to their study schedule, okay, online. So that's where this really affects their physical activity, which they need at least 1 hour of physical activity every day. So which is drastically reduced right now, and they're not able to get the sunlight, which provides that with vitamin D. These are the things. Also, their eyes are affected because of these, most of the time they're spending on gadgets, so their eyes are being affected. So all of these health concerns which they are facing right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so there is a quick video. What we did is we asked a few kids across the age group of 4 to 10 what they think is corona. So Ashna, could you play that video for us? We just wanted to know, what do they think, because we are talking about it. Let's see what, they have to say. This was quite interesting and it was quite long because they didn't want to stop. We had to actually trim the videos. So Ashna, could you please play that for us?
Yeah, I'm just sharing that with everyone. Hi, Mishi.
Hi.
Can you tell us what is corona?
Corona. And when you go outside, you will get corona. And first of all, you should you have to stay in your house and follow the rules.
Coronavirus is a very deadly virus, so we should not go out, and only we should go out if it's needed, and we should wear a mask and gloves and have sanitizer.
Hello, Sanaya. What is this coronavirus? Corona is one bacteria. It makes people sick. And if you don't get sick, you have to if you don't want to get sick, you have to wear masks, gloves, hats, shoes. People are dying in this virus and coughs, and also people cannot go outside. I'm also missing my friends. Coronavirus is a bad virus which spreads everywhere, so there are some hygiene practices that we should do. The first hygiene practice has to be our mouth. Then we should wear our gloves. Then we should put sanitizer. And then we should wash our hands regularly. To avoid getting corona, these three things you need to do to prevent it. First, don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. Second thing, social distancing. And third thing, wash your hands after coming out and all. Thank you.
Okay, so they seem to know quite a bit about it. Wash your hands, wear masks, and stuff like that. Okay, so we move on to our next question, which is very important now. How do we cope? Okay, I will field this question first with Neha. Neha has a class to attend, so she requested if she could log out earlier. So Neha, we'll start with you. How do kids, parents cope with the current situation?
Yeah, so actually, this is the main question that how do we cope with the situation? So actually, parents are the real role models in front of the children. So they actually don't listen to you; they follow you. So you have to set examples in front of them, like first of all, personal hygiene you have to maintain. You have to take care of washing hands, maintaining this, this healthy habits of eating healthy food and avoiding the junk food. So they will also follow you, and we can have like one of the methods I can tell to increase the immunity, we can have encourage the habit of having turmeric milk in the night before going to bed. This will strengthen the immune system of both parents and children. So they actually we follow in our home also. We have the milk, and seeing us, our kid also feel encouraged and motivated to have that milk because it gives the strengthening to your immune system. So before applying anything to your kids, you have to first apply to yourself and motivate your kids. So and otherwise you can just you have to take out some time to play with your kids. The kids are very much stressed out during this time. They don't have their friends, no schooling. So actually parents have to take out that precious time for them and play with them, talk to them, listen to their concerns. So these are the things. And actually exercising also can be done, and it can be made of a fun activity in the family. So exercise really helps to increase our immune system. So basically the parents can encourage their kids to do exercise regularly, just simple walking or dancing, yoga, some of the activities which they can do to get exercise, which they are not actually getting these days, right? So
One
these are the
question.
things.
Is there
Yeah.
any yoga pose that can keep COVID away?
There's no actually not one specific poses. All the poses are working
All
on different
okay.
parts of the body. So so we have
Okay. No
yeah,
quick fix, huh?
no there's no
Okay.
shortcut. So
Oh,
actually you have to do 1 hour of exercise, daily. You have to give that time to give to your health.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neha.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Neha, ma'am, you can log out anytime, huh? Whenever you think you
Yeah,
can.
yeah, sure, sure. Yeah,
Thanks.
actually, my class is there at 6 p.m. So I'm very
Okay.
sorry that I have to log.
No problem. The time that you've spent, I think that's good enough. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was really my pleasure to be a part of this webinar. Really great to talk with such great personalities.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Okay, we move on to Summer ma'am. Summer ma'am, what do you think? Especially I would want to bring this. I have a teenager myself, so and he just tells me that I've had enough of you. I want to go back to school. I want to be with friends. That's what he's been telling me last few days, few weeks. So, Sama ma'am, you tell us how do children cope, and we as parents, we are incapable to take care of our own kids. I'm telling you from experience, we are incapable of taking care of our own kids. So please tell us, how do we help them?
See, for me, it's, I think what I'm sharing with you is, again, what I've heard from kids. I don't think that there's a formula. This is a new platform for all of us. This is a new learning for all of us. So what I'm sharing with you is what I've heard from students, what I feel is working for them. And that's what I would like to share with you. There was, in fact, in today's classroom discussion, it came up with one of my students, and he was very clear about it. He says that the online classes are just getting to me. I think I'm getting these headaches and stuff like that. So he's saying the only thing that works for me, and my parents listening to me about it and respecting my decision, is like the biggest, you know, stress relief for me. After my classes get over, for 2 hours, nobody comes in my space. They just leave me be. They don't ask me questions. They just let me be. I've communicated that to them, and they have respected that choice for me. And for me, that's really important. So that was something. So I feel that building the relationship that you build with your children, at the end of the day, you educate them, they do the work. In my house, it's the opposite, actually. My child, he's the policeman. He's like, Mama, you went out, have you washed your hands? So the minute you give that education and you let it be, and then they have to carry it forward. The minute you nag them, I feel, about stuff, they're going to do the opposite. you know Children are constantly testing boundaries of parents. That's like that constant push and shove happens. So the minute if you're going to constantly nag them about it, they're going to keep pushing back. Then even logically it makes sense to them, they will do it. And this is for older and younger kids also. The other thing is, I feel what kids are learning, and I feel that this works, is we have to learn as parents to put our phones away. We are constantly, like, the amount of screen time I'm even doing, it's increased drastically. So their online classes, then I have individual sessions as well. So my child has become resentful of the phone now. He is like, if I'm just talking to my sister or something like that, he takes the phone away from me. So I said that if we want kids to stay away from gadgets, we have to learn to practice that ourselves. you know Whenever, like, set a time, like at dinner time or before bedtime, or say that, see, okay, 1 hour I'm not going to touch my phone. That is absolutely time dedicated to you. And another thing that children, again, in sessions have brought up is that I think it's quite sweet, is they do these family, even in their classrooms, they have these online games.
Right.
Like dumb charades, or so they're having these family. So the families are getting back together, friends are getting back together. It's like, I haven't even met my new class. I don't even know what it's all about. So we play. I think online Ludo. There's a group of 10 kids who are playing that. There's online bingo happening. So I feel that is something that even families seem to be doing this once a month, once every 2 weeks. They're setting up. So I think it's about having some sort of a discipline. Like, I think that is something that's really important, and I think online classes also contribute to it, at least with little ones, because the minute you're in some sort of a schedule, even if it's scheduling playtime, scheduling physical activity, scheduling sleep, I think it's really important. If we can all, I think I was talking to another teacher from school, and she was like, doesn't matter that we don't have school, my lunch is still school lunchtime. I am sticking to that, whether anything else is on schedule or not, but my lunchtime is the school lunchtime. So I think having some sort of a system, having some sort of regularity, I think that's what's really important. Other things are like, there's so many resources available, for online classes, learning a new language, learning a new instrument. Because I really feel in this time, I encourage the kids also, especially kids who come to me with high levels of irritation, anxiety. I said physical activity. If y'all can do something with your hands, where you're physically, like you're doodling, you're drawing, you're, going out in the garden, do something with your hands and keep this time and make sure that half an hour every day that you're doing something up with your hands. So all that negative light stimulation that's happening on your brain, or the pressure on your brain, it gets, there's some chance of um neutralizing that. So I think these are the things that have come up, and I think these are the things that are effective. I don't want to give like some textbook answer on this, but this is what the kids are saying, and this is what I've experienced myself. So I think these are things I would definitely ask parents. And I guess what I mentioned earlier is encourage them if they think that they need to speak to somebody from outside. Family time is definitely important, and parents giving support to their children is essential. Parents are playing the biggest role right now
True.
for their children, creating that a safe environment for them where they can express themselves, but encourage, if they think that they need to talk to somebody outside, do encourage them. It really breaks my heart when I say that, ma'am, please don't inform my parents that I want to talk to you. That really breaks my heart when I hear that. So yeah, I think that's what I would like to
That
share.
sums it up very well. I picked up something, do something with your hands. I like that, that can be a good phrase for the kids. Do something with your hands. I just want to add here, when we were growing up, when the television was a craze, and everybody said that's an idiot box, and you'll become a couch potato watching it, and we moved on from there, and now every child has something in their hands where they can browse the world. And somehow I feel that the television was just a one-way interaction. This that they have with them is a Pandora's box. You can use it rightly. Like you said, there are online games, puzzles, there are a lot of things other than the senseless animation that they watch all the time. I guess there is wonders that you could do online. Use that resource because it's here to stay. We cannot negate the fact that gadgets are here. They are
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
going
That's
anywhere.
true.
And probably in the next few months, we will see a continuation of the online classes and all of that. So my request to all parents always has been, use that resource. They have it in their hand, use it wisely, rather than that some animation that they watch and that they do, puzzles,
Yeah.
games. I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, Sama ma'am. We'll move on to Dr. Sumita. How do you think we can cope? Is the vaccine coming soon?
Yeah, the vaccine is supposed to be coming soon. The Oxford vaccine, which is the company called AstraZeneca, is conducting the trials, and they are have shown very promising results.
Okay.
So hopefully by the end of this year, the first results of their clinical trials should be out. And if the results are encouraging, then yes, by March or so, we should be able to have a vaccine. But having said that, whether the vaccine is going to be available to everybody or to only the caregivers and the high risk population, what are going to be the recommendations of the vaccine, for whom it will be available, what is the safety profile, what is the age groups that it is going to be recommended, is all still fluid. Most of it will be clear by the end of this year. But yes, there are a lot of, this is one vaccine that has definitely shown promising results. There are other vaccines in the pipeline also. Hopefully 2-3 of them should see the daylight by end of this year.
End of the year, ma'am, you're telling
News on
us.
that front.
Oh my God.
So, yeah.
We
So
were
that is
thinking,
one thing
after
to
this
look
webinar, we'll
forward.
have something.
Yeah, that is one thing that we should be looking forward to. But we have to understand that vaccine is not a panacea to our basic methodology in which we approach this disease, because as somebody rightly said, this is here to stay. Now we have to learn to live with it. So it doesn't mean that, oh, I have given the vaccine, I have taken the vaccine, I have given the vaccine to my child, and then I'll be safe. Nothing is going to be happening like that. So we have to be on our guard. We have to be, more aware of our surroundings. We need to be aware of what we are touching, what we are, eating, how we are eating, whether we are washing our hands or not, whether we are touching our eyes or not. We have to be really, aware of our surroundings for many years to come. Probably we don't know how things go. It's not only corona, there are other viral diseases also, there are other bacterial diseases also. We have to safeguard ourselves against all these things, because any viral infection can decrease our immunity in general, and then we become exposed to much more diseases. So we have to keep ourselves safe from diseases in general. That is the first thing. And that is where, as responsible parents, we can give the best to our children. We have to ensure that we get their vaccinations in time, even though we are within the constraints that we are working on. Even during the lockdown, there are certain vaccines which should never be delayed. The DPT vaccine, the measles vaccine, these are life-threatening diseases, and the children have to be vaccinated in time, so that they don't fall prey to these diseases. So that is one thing where parents can really be aware of the things that they need to do on that particular, in that particular time band, so that they don't expose their children to unnecessarily life-threatening diseases. If the children are exposed to that, causes a lot of issues. Second thing is nutrition. Again, children are, as such, children are very fussy eaters, and children do have a lot of issues with eating a particular foodstuff or not eating a particular foodstuff and all that. But basic nutrition, if it is taken care of, we give them immunity boosting food, we give them multivitamins, we give them zinc, we give them vitamin C. Because they are not going out in sunlight, they are very much prone to vitamin D deficiencies nowadays. So we supplement with good quantities of vitamin D. This is where, as parents, we can do these things to protect our child. There are a lot of home remedies that are available to enhance our immunity against these particular diseases. A lot of things have been spoken about: turmeric milk, ginger and turmeric, honey, tulsi, all the different concoctions and the kadhas that our grandmothers and their grandmothers and their mothers used to teach us. All those things are really helpful, and they should be followed now in this thing, made as a way of life, so that further also we are sort of safe against these particular diseases. As Neha rightly pointed out, children follow us, so we have to take care of ourselves first, and then the children will automatically fall into line. When we go out, we should be diligently wearing masks, we should be diligently using sanitizers, we should avoid touching public surfaces, we should come back home, wash our hands, take a bath, wear properly things. So children learn to emulate these things on their own, and then that becomes a way of life for them, and that is how they will be able to sort of protect themselves against these diseases. As regards their studies and this thing, especially the children who are in the teenagers, this thing where highest classes, their studies take precedence. The parents are also very anxious that 9th standard, 10th standard, how will my child cope up with these things? Yes, there is a little bit of anxiety about that, I'm sure, but then online classes are here to stay, for at least for the time being. So we have to learn to modulate our study mechanisms to ensure that the studies don't get affected in that sense. But having said that, the gadget time has to be a little reduced. In between classes, children need a break. They should wash their eyes. They should, take breaks in between, walk around the room at least in between the gap in between the studies, so that they don't sit at one place continuously. Posture issues a lot of children are getting because of constant sitting in front of the computer. They get backaches, they get neck pains. All these things are, a lot of children are complaining of these things nowadays. So we need to take care of that, allow them to, encourage them to stretch themselves out a little bit in between classes, so that their postural things are not affected. Then eye care, wash the eyes more frequently, shut your eyes in between classes, don't look at the screen constantly, so that frequent blinking should be encouraged. These things parents can help their children to make these adjustments in their habits regularly so that on-plan classes don't become a big burden. And as Neha again said, exercise, which should be made like a family routine. It should not be exercise. Exercise can be fun. So do it together as a family, do it, this thing. So it helps the parents also and it helps the children also. These are the things that as parents and as caregivers, we can sort of intervene to help children cope up with these things. Encourage online gaming if at all that is this thing. See if your children can go out and interact with someone, speak to someone, have some family bonding time. That helps the children to come up with issues that are disturbing them, issues that are troubling them. They learn to speak out, and then those things can be addressed instead of keeping it bottled up and then later on ending up in bigger trouble. We can nip these things in the bud by encouraging your child to speak up. So those are the things where I feel that from a medical point of view, caregivers should be more proactive.
Thank you. Now I'm thinking why I didn't write those down, though I have done a recording here, so I know those tips were just awesome. We all were making kadas and we didn't know why we were, but now that from your perspective, when you tell us, we know we're doing the right things. Thank you so much, Sumita, Doctor. Okay, we move on to Shanti ma'am. Shanti ma'am, academically, children have gone through a lot of turmoil. So how do you think we can cope?
Essentially, I think most of what I would like to say has been covered already. The last statement that Dr. Smita made about while children are online, if we can build habits, while we do tell teachers to give them those energizing breaks in between. We have breaks in between periods, of course. Children don't tend to log out. They like to be there because they want to chat with their friends. So if parents can help by monitoring that a bit, it's not just the small ones, even the older ones. If the parents could just monitor that a bit, maybe allow them to take a break, make them take that break between at least after every 2 periods. So a period is typically 35 minutes or 30 minutes kind of thing. So after every hour, if they make them shut off so that is something that they can build those kind of gentle habits by getting them to be self-aware. And that's what I think Dr. Sunita was talking about. They have to be aware of that being critical at this point for themselves. Only then the child will do it. That's something that I think we should very, very carefully, as parents, start encouraging. A lot of parents write to me saying that teachers don't log out and therefore children stay on. Teachers don't log out because teachers have to ensure children leave and they're not up to any kind of mischief there. So teachers log out later, and they also have to log in early because they have to set their class up. They have to get their presentation in place and things like that. So a lot of times it's not controlled by the teacher. We cannot control it from our end. A bit of counseling from the parent on why the child should log out would help the child a lot. The other thing that I want to take off from where Sama said, use your fingers. Right at the beginning, when we closed during the pandemic, there was this mailer I wrote out to parents, giving them suggestions on what they can keep their child engaged in. There's no opportunity like today. You never got this opportunity before, and you never will get it beyond this. Explore the kind of things and activities that you would never have explored before. I, for one, realized, well, I'm not a religious person, but I like reading verses from any kind of religious, be it any kind, it doesn't matter, as long as I can understand what I'm reading. So I like to have any kind of chance there with a translation. I like to read it. There is a kind of metacognitive impact on the brain when you do something like that. So that was one suggestion that I had asked. Very simply, as I'm many generations away from most of you on the panel, and of course the children too, even the parents, most parents today, I'm probably much older to many of you all, but during my childhood, prayer time was a very crucial time. And there was no way you could miss that. What did it do? At that point, it was a boring thing for all of us. But what does it do in the long run? You're learning something by rote, but there is something that it does to your brains. I think that is a critical thing that, um, and it's part of the Indian culture, which I think we should try and bring back. And no time like today to do that. The other thing is, today's children, they're so used to house helps, all of us, because parents are working, both parents are working. So typically the house is run by somebody else. But suddenly we come to the situation where we are everybody in the house. We are the house helps, we are the cooks, we are everything. Why not get the child also involved? Now, if you make it a chore for the child, make your bed, he's not going to make it. But give him the freedom of redo your room, redecorate your room. Is you're building creativity in their brains. So they might just want to repaint their walls. Let them do it. I know it might not look nice and pretty the first time, but eventually the child starts also, activating those creative aspects of their brain. So those are kind of chores. So it's well to be playing online games. They're very stimulating. They actually, to use medical terms, connect synapses and improve brain activity and all of that, versus the idiot box that TVS Sindhu just said so. But I would think that, dirtying your hands, getting yourself to the grassroots levels of, painting up your room, do some bit of gardening. There's no thrill like plucking off the bindi of the plant which you grew in your balcony, if it has to be, and putting it into the curry that your mom is making for that day. So, if these are kind of activities children of any age group can be part of. And it'll be more fun if the parent is part of the whole exercise. It's not like it's that your pot and you take care of it. It's our plants and we take care of it together. Do we do some composting in the house? Can we use the compost for our plants? These are kind of things that are very mundane, but different for a child, and therefore can be very exciting for the child. We probably have never exploded with children all these years because we've been so busy in our careers too. And then, like most of us spoke about, nothing like now trying to bond with those children. There is that, I would like to call it a staged time that we have for our children. We actually stage it as working parents, right? So I am going to put away my mobile now and therefore I'm spending time with you, kind of thing. Whereas now, I like this. One of my colleagues actually spoke to me about this 2 weeks back when I was having a meeting, where she said at 8 o'clock, all of us part ways. We enter our different rooms for our own classes. But we converge for lunch. We are very particular about having lunch together. We're very particular about logging off together. So those are kind of things that, if we can create in the house, again, like what Sama said, the word is routine. When parents wrote to me, especially kindergarten parents, saying, why are classes starting at 9:30 in the morning? Why can't we push it to 10:30? It's too early for my child. My snap response has been, school starts at 8:15. And my gates shut at 8:10. I am extremely tough about it, be it a 2-year-old or a 18-year-old. Children cannot enter after 8:10 into the school. Why is it so? It's because I want a routine to be cultivated by the child right from the time he's 2 years old. A 2-year-old doesn't know a routine, but a routine can be created by the parent. So even today, I'm pushing for classes to start at 8:30, bang on, so that even the littlest babies get into that kind of routine. And that's very, very critical, because if you allow them to, believe that it's okay, you wake up at 10:30, at 10 o'clock because your class is only at 10:30, what about the time that they have wasted all of that time? Similarly, therefore, parents say, it's okay, you sleep late. As children, even as a parent myself, or for my own children, light out time was 8:30 in the night, come what may. It was only when they came into high schools, I started realizing that these rules don't work for me, and I had to stretch it till about 9:30. But there was no question of beyond 10 o'clock, and they didn't do badly in life. They did well. But bang at 6 o'clock in the morning, not one soul was allowed to stay in bed. Everybody had to get up, and there was no Sunday. Sunday was not a special day where you lounge around. Sunday was an extra working day because that's the day they had to polish their shoes, the shoes for the week, the white shoes and the black shoes, and we had different kinds of shoes those days. So it builds routines, and the routines stay as habits later in life. And this is a good time because parents have that time today. While you are online attending to work, you still have the opportunity to put yourself, I mean, I do it all the time, put your screen off, your video off, and you go and attend to something which is critical. And your children are critical. Why are we working? We are working for our children. That's your most critical asset. So if we don't turn back and rectify that issue for ourselves in using this opportunity, I think you're just losing an opportunity. So if I may, as a parent to parents who are watching, exploit this situation. Get your children involved in things that you may never have thought of while you were running that hectic life of dashing through Bangalore traffic to reach office. Today, you don't have to do it. You've saved up on so much time. That time is your child's time. So you have to possibly try and think up ideas. If you ask me, ask the children to think up ideas for you. They can come up with very creative ideas on what can be done with that extra time that you have saved, which you can do together, which you can keep yourself grounded, physically grounded. So when I talk of gardening, that kind of grounded, and also metaphysically grounded. Get down to things which are value based, which are culturally based, which made us innately Indians because of certain things that we did. I think this is a good time to explore all of that. Yoga is one fantastic thing of Indianness, which the West is aping so desperately, and we Indians are just foregoing. So these are things that we should possibly bring ourselves back to. Children may not find it exciting if we push it down their throat, but if we present it well, say that I don't seem to be able to stretch anymore. What do you think I should do? And the child will say, Mommy, I think you should try and do some stretch exercises. And that's where yoga can start. So, if you can just start doing things, package it well, any kid will take it from you. So it only requires your inclination to come down to those grassroots levels. And if you look at it as an opportunity, this is a fantastic opportunity.
True. I totally agree with you, Shanti ma'am. I guess our generation is blessed in a way. Keeping all the negatives of the pandemic aside, I feel we got a time to pause, pause and actually stop in our tracks, where we saw nature reviving, and so did bonds. I guess relationships have bloomed. We are calling up our grandparents, we are connecting with uncles, aunts, and everybody. Suddenly there are video conferences happening across families, playing of games, like Sama ma'am said. And suddenly we all got this opportunity to stop and think and revive bonds. I guess what you said is apt. We should take it positively, think of how we can help our children, and there are various ways. I guess we just need to think as our kids, what do our kids want, and it's not all that bad. There is silver lining, and I don't think anybody could have put it more beautifully than all four of you on the panel. If there are any questions, Ashna, did we get any questions other than what we've already covered?
No, I think this was about it.
Okay. So we are bang on time also. So thank you so much, Shanti ma'am, Sama ma'am, and Dr. Sumita. I think Neha has already logged out. So thank you so much for this enriching experience. This may be one of the first in the series because there is so much that parents want to talk, how to keep our children engaged, what activities can we do from the doctor, from the medical line, what we can do to help our children. So thank you so much for joining in, and all of you have a very good weekend.